Hello, and welcome to Macy Cooks. We're on day 732, however many of quarantine. I ran out of pasta pretty early on, really embracing the quarantine 15, and I can't stop with the carbs. All jokes aside though, pasta can stretch a meal, and it's usually one of the first things to sell out at the grocery store in an emergency situation. But the good news is, it's extremely easy to make, and doesn't really use that many ingredients. So, today we're making pasta. Let me start by showing you a couple things you're gonna need. The first of which being a very large stock pot. Also, I'm going to be featuring my handy dandy pasta roller / cutter. However, never fear, if you do not have one, I'm gonna show you a really awesome way to do it without that. But this pasta roller was an awesome gift from two of my favorite people in the world, so I try to use it as much as possible. If you're ready, let's get baking. We will begin by pouring 2 cups of all-purpose flour out onto the counter. Try to form it into a little volcano, making a tiny hole in the center. This is gonna be another one of my really messy recipes. Gotta hang in there, okay? We'll wash it up, it'll clean up, it's worth it. To our volcano, we are going to add 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk. To that, let's add a couple teaspoons of salt. Then, using a fork, start integrating the egg into the flour. I work in small circles, just kind of pushing in some of that flour from the outside, constantly turning. Once you've got it built out a ways, let's go ahead and add that 3rd yolk. Then I start pulling in more and more flour, pushing it on top and kind of patting it down with the fork. Now, at this stage, I like to grab a bench scraper. If you don't have one, that's fine. You can continue working with the fork, but I find that this does make it easier. Using the bench scraper, if you have it, start pulling the flour over and cutting it in. Like with most of the recipes that I've taught you before, it may seem like it's never going to come together. However, it will. You just got to keep working with it and cutting that flour into the egg. Just continue bringing that flour on top and cutting it in. All right, once you have cut in the majority of the egg, try to shape it back into a little bit of a mountain. Then I like to form that same volcano shape again. Take some very cold water and begin to drizzle. Now, you can always come back and add more, but you can't take water out. So I like to just go ahead and add a tiny bit at a time. With that said, if you do find that you've added too much water, obviously you can just add more flour. That's really the neat thing about this recipe, is that I've done it so many times and ended up with way off ratios before, and you can just fix it by adding flour and egg. Now, I mean, by adding more flour and egg, you're gonna end up with a whole lot of pasta, so just prepare for a carb overload. Also, keep in mind that you can feel free to adjust these ratios, and you can add more eggs for extra richness. In fact, I've seen some pasta recipes that have up to like 5 or 6 egg yolks, but with the quarantine, I'm trying to ration. Once you notice that the mixture has become sticky and that you can push it down into a ball, you have achieved the right consistency and it's time to begin the knead. Now, anytime during this kneading process, which is going to be about 8 minutes, if you notice that it's too sticky and it's coming off on your fingers, feel free to add a little bit more flour. Aside from fresh pasta being one of the most delicious things you've ever put in your mouth, and probably one of the most addictive, it's extremely inexpensive to make, and also it's kind of hard to mess up. I have made pasta, countless times now, and I can't think of a single time that it failed or came out wrong, because you really can just keep adding ingredients until you get it right. The only real downside to fresh pasta is that it doesn't keep as long. This recipe is going to make 2 batches, so I cut it in half. once it's ready and then store the other half until the following day, it really doesn't last much longer than that. But again, what sane person couldn't think of a couple ways to eat pasta over 2 days? It has been 8 minutes. The dough has come together into a very, very soft, tight ball. We're gonna wrap it up in plastic wrap and let it chill in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour. Alrighty, so it's been 30 minutes, and like I said, this makes a lot of pasta. So I'm actually gonna cut mine in half and put some in the fridge, and then I'm gonna half that so I can show you how to use the roller and then how to do it without the roller. Now, an important step is to remember to flour your work surface and keep a small bowl of flour on hand because you're going to need it. I love that this recipe makes so many noodles. I'll tell you, it's great for lasagna. Begin by taking your pasta and rolling it around in the flour and then rolling it into a ball. Press down on it, shaping it into a disc. Once you have it shaped into a disc, take 2 of the sides and fold them like a book. Rotate it and once more fold it over, pressing down. Once you have it formed into a rectangle, squeeze it out just a little bit between your fingers. Now, all pasta rollers are a little bit different, so it's going to be hard for me to tell you exactly how to do this next step, but I'm going to show you how I do it on mine. Most pasta rollers have an adjustable wheel on the side that has a numeric scale 1 through about 7. What you want to do is start on the widest setting. The way the pasta roller works is you have these 2 wheels right here, and as you adjust this scale on the side, those wheels get closer and further apart depending on where you have it set. You want to start with the widest setting, so that for mine is 7. Take your rectangular or squarish pasta and on the widest setting, begin rolling it through the pasta roller. Once you've rolled it through one time, you're going to fold it in that rectangular book one more time. And once you have your rectangle folded, run it through the widest setting one more time. Once you've done the widest setting twice, you are then going to begin rolling it through, and as it gets to the end, tightening up the wheel until you get down to about a 3. As you tighten it up, you're going to notice that the pasta is getting thinner, wider, and longer. Once you've achieved the thickness that you're looking for and desired, you can stop and cut it. For me, that's around a 3, which is, I would say, fettuccine thickness. At this point, I like to flour the pasta sheet because it makes the cutting a little bit easier and also helps to prevent it from sticking together. Again, everyone's roller is different and I'm not 100% sure what you're working with. But with mine, it has this attachment that you can put on the other side and then just transfer the crank over to the cutting side. As I'm cutting this pasta, I'm going slowly, and then once I get to the end, I grab with this hand and then separate them out, tossing them in a little bit of flour. Once you have them floured, gather them back up and then nest them into a pile. Before I show you how to do this without a pasta roller, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the cooking process of those fettuccine we just prepared. The other interesting thing about fresh pasta is that it takes way less time to cook to al dente. For me, my preference is about 3 minutes. Take your nested pasta and drop it into the water. Grab a pair of tongs and twirl it around. 3 minutes later, use your tongs to transfer the noodles into a strainer or colander. It's pasta, y'all. Look, they are tender and thick and frankly look identical to something you would have gotten out of a box. Side note, Resist the urge to wash your pasta roller. It's not good on the components to get water or soap inside of them. It will cause them to rust. The best thing you can do is take a paper towel or a wash rag and just brush it off and get all the excess flour off. Who wants to learn how to make this without the roller? Grabbing your remaining dough, roll it around in the flour and then into a ball just like last time. Using a floured rolling pin, roll it out into a thin disc. Once you've achieved the thin disc, just like the last one, fold it over into a rectangle, flip it over and roll it out. Once more, fold into a square and roll it out. Though we are not using a pasta roller, the technique is exactly the same. You want to try to get this rolled out into the desired thickness. It might be a little bit of a workout, but hey, we're burning calories for pasta, right? One way that I have learned to do this is to press down on the rolling pin and pull backwards as you're rolling, really applying quite a bit of pressure. Guys, we achieved the exact same thing, but without the roller. Flour your work surface again, toss the pasta in the flour, making sure to cover it. For this next step, choose either side, it doesn't really matter, and begin to fold it over, rolling it up like a cinnamon roll or Swiss roll or anything else you might roll in this fashion. Then, once you have your little pasta roll, take a bench scraper or a knife and begin cutting it into equal pieces. Begin to unroll them and toss them in flour just like we did with the others. Look guys, we made the exact same kind of pasta without the roller, and look how fabulous it looks. Grab your hand-cut pasta and drop it into the pot of water. Begin twirling it around. We set that timer for 3 minutes. Guys, just look at this pasta. Now, I would argue that you would not have known that that was not store-bought fettuccine. And also, how proud are you that you made it? Let's try it. Now, mine is tossed in a wild mushroom sauce and Parmesan with a little bit of tarragon. Oh my God. Here's the thing, if you've never tried fresh pasta, I don't know that I want you to. Because if you do, you won't ever buy store-bought again. Fresh pasta, not only is it more filling, it's richer and creamier and actually has a toothiness to it. It's just really, really unique. All I'm saying is, it's worth trying. Not only is it delicious and more filling than store-bought pasta, but you don't have to panic the next time that the store is out. Whether you decide to eat yours as fettuccine or spaghetti or linguine or ravioli or lasagna, get baking, y'all.